I know a win is a win is a win, and we'll definitely take this W this week, but the Pack has some work to do if we're going to keep that number one seed in the NFC, and we've got some work for you as well as we recap the victory over the Jaguars, look ahead at our next game against the Colts, and as always, your listener feedback. All coming up next on your Packers Fan Podcast.
It is so good to have you back for another edition of your Packers Fan Podcast. I can't believe we are past the midway point in Season 10 of the show. This is episode 215, and I'm Wayne Henderson from MediaVoiceovers.com. Super excited for all of the upcoming games. Next week, the Colts, then the Bears, then the Eagles, the Lions, the Panthers, the Titans, and the Bears again, and then the playoffs.
And for those of you not paying attention at home, Wayne did just refer to the fact that the Packers will play through the playoffs to make it to 20 games this season, or 19 games this season. So that was not an unintentional thing. I'm Scott Clark, the host of the Gaming Outsider Podcast, the slightly less optimistic other half of the Packers Fan Podcast. On this episode, the Pack squeaked by the Jags at home this week. We'll discuss the most stressful win of the season so far. And as always, we share more of your great listener feedback.
And we will be previewing this week's Packers at Colts game, including our predictions for the final score, some other football info as well. But let's dig right in to some of the highlights from that squeaky win, as you called it, over the Jaguars. Let me just say it was great to have David Bakhtiari back. It was noticeable to me right away.
Well, for sure. He's got one of the most recognizable names. It's a very unique name. So yeah, hearing his name again was very cool to hear.
Well, and knowing that hopefully Aaron Rodgers would be a little bit safer in the pocket with Bakhtiari being back. And at the same time, we found out during the game from Ian Rappaport that left tackle David Bakhtiari agreed to a 4-year extension. So he's going to be a Packer for a long time. This extension's worth up to $105.5 million American dollars.
That's insane.
Because he's already the highest paid left tackle in the NFL, and now he's the highest paid offensive lineman in NFL history. Well deserved.
Absolutely. That's just so much money. It's just crazy to me. Also, after being out for a while, Devontae comes back in for a beautiful touchdown. What an amazing leap and catch. I could watch that play over and over again. He extended himself so high up there, and we really needed that score for sure. Also, fun stat about Davante Adams. He has so far this season missed 2 games, left one early, had the bye week already, and he still has scored more fantasy points than any other wide receiver in the league this entire season. So, feels good to have him on the green and gold.
That's what I'm talking about. He really does make some catches that are stunning.
Some of those over-the-shoulder ones in the flat that just, like, how did you even, first off, see that pass coming? Why was the pass thrown? Because he was covered like crazy, but to reach out, grab that, bring it in, and then still get some yak is just, it's a thing of beauty.
And then a little bit later, for many reasons, it was kind of a relief to see AR-12 run in that one touchdown all by himself. I mean, it's I'm glad to see that he still has the wheels. And it's also good because it shows that when he feels he needs to do even more, kind of put the team on his back, the dude can pretty much do it.
Absolutely. I love some of his facial expressions this game, too. There's the one play where they kept showing the shot of him just kind of shrugging like, that'll do, donkey. He's got some of the best facial expressions throughout the games. Also, another positive, we had back-to-back sacks on Luton in their final drive. The 2 sacks came from Rashawn Gary and Preston Smith. That forced a 4th and 26, which they failed to convert due to an incomplete pass, which pretty much sealed the game for us at that point. And, man, back-to-back sacks just feels so great. I love that very much.
Yeah, it'd be nice if we could have a lot more of those and maybe even spread them out more throughout the game. But the fact that when you get back-to-back, when the other team is trying to kind of come from behind and take a victory, it just kind of puts the nail in the coffin. So, like you said, that was beautiful. And in regards to the Packers record after the afternoon games, I love what John Kuhn tweeted out. He tweeted, "They say the Packers have only beaten one team with a winning record. I say They're currently the number 1 seed in the NFC. Bam. Mic drop and all that good stuff. Coon.
It's kind of hard to argue with that. What are you going to do?
Yeah. It's math, right?
Totally. And I teach it, so I get it. MVS also had a great game with especially that 78-yard touchdown pass. Oh, it was a thing of beauty. And then the way he juked that defender to run around the left, and I think a ref got knocked out at some point too.
Yeah, ref was running interference, not paid off by the Packers, as some of the conspiracy theory people out there were thinking.
Goodness.
It was a total goof, but we'll take the advantage.
Absolutely. He definitely was the MVP of the game with a total of 149 yards. He had 2 other catches over 20 yards and another 18-yarder that set up the game-winning touchdown. So good to see him in the Packers' good graces again. He has definitely redeemed himself after some of those drop passes over the last couple weeks.
Even just 3 weeks ago, we would not be able to fathom what Marquez has done in the past 2 games.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
He went from us going, he's dropping everything. Why are we throwing to him? Why are we not throwing to him? And now he's got touchdowns and that 78-yarder. Wow, that came out of nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
So good. But
very good.
Since the win was kind of squeaky, as you say, kind of like great cheese curds, there were lowlights. And so let's start this part of the podcast with a question. Did we really let the Jaguars return a punt all the way for a touchdown? Did we really? Did that happen?
It actually happened, and that was, I mean, those things happened in the past, but this one I just kept going, okay, this guy will get him, this guy will get him, this guy will get him, and then he just broke free, and I was like, this is really going to happen. That was a depressing moment for sure, but hey, at least we were able to finally pull off the win, but I'm not sure how much we deserved it after the way we played this game. I just felt like we were moving at half speed for most of the game. Am I alone in that, Wayne? I know you're Pollyanna and all that, but it seriously just felt like we were not running at full potential this game.
Do you think I'm always a little too over positive when it comes to the Packers?
Hey, I'm not knocking you. I'm just making an observation. You're very, very positive, man.
Oh, it's jealousy, I see, but that's all right. Mm-hmm. You are correct. I'm agreeing with you on this one, Scott. The first half especially, it just seemed like, is anything going to get going? Are we trying? What is going on? I know it's cold and it was windy. At least we didn't have the rain like the Ravens had in the night game. That was insane. So I don't know what's behind it, why it was that way, but yes, things were in slow-mo.
It really felt like it. And I know that I harp on it every week about overconfidence, and I know that the Jaguars have won 1 game this season and they haven't won a game in 7 weeks, and it seemed like it should have been a shoe-in. And I also understand the idea of trying to rest your players and not, striking things down their throat like we'd like to see as fans. I understand it's all about getting the W more than anything. It's not necessarily about just the pure entertainment factor of watching them wallop over our opponents. But it made me nervous. It really did make me nervous, and I hope that it is not a sign of things to come.
I certainly hope not either, because it was a little bit scary. And every year there's one of those games where we're so positive that on paper we should just come out and wallop them. And then,
like the Vikings, you mean?
Well, that one we know that division rivals are going to be tough, but it'd be like if we were playing the New York Jets this week. No offense, Jets fans, but they're terrible this year.
Yeah. When are we going to play the Jets? I feel like we never.
Why can we not get them on our schedule?
Right. Seriously.
I mean, even in the post-game press conference, Coach LaFleur, he didn't, chew out a bunch of people, but you could tell he was not happy. He knew that we played poorly and somehow got the victory and lacked energy. And he kept taking the blame on himself as the head coach, saying, the energy and the spark has to start with me. But at the same time, players, highly paid professionals, let's get some energy, people.
Please and thank you.
Because if the game announcers are correct that some of the Packers might have been playing down to the competition, that is sad to even think about. But at the same time, it makes me hope that next week we will play up to the competition against the Colts, which, of course, we're going to talk about later in this episode of the podcast.
Well, speaking of the announcers, the secondary announcer for sure was a Jaguars fan, it felt like. Everything he kept saying was negative towards the Packers, it felt like. I don't know. Maybe I'm just imagining it. Maybe I'm just a super fan, but it really felt that way to me. Also, Adams did lose the ball on the wrong side of the field. That was heartbreaking, especially that position, and even more so because it led to a touchdown for the Jaguars. We had another turnover, too. Rodgers threw a pick that led to a field goal that did eventually give the Jags the lead. So the turnovers were not our friend this game either, which have been severely absent leading up to this game. We've had a couple, but where did these come from? We've had such a great season so far. Why do we got to let it go?
And in fairness to Adams, and I'm not thinking that everything Adams does is fantastic, but I do think that fumble was not necessarily his fault, or not very much his fault. I just think that was just a great defensive play by the Jaguar, and he just happened to hit the ball at the right time in the right place. And I couldn't hang on to the ball if somebody did that, but It was very unfortunate where they were on the field at that time. It was like, really, today of all days.
Yeah. And also, Wayne, I know I like to give you a hard time about your early looks at the playoff picture, but this week is particularly interesting in that the Packers now do hold the number 1 seed position for the NFC, which does feel awesome. We are tied with New Orleans at 7-2, but we've got this slight edge on them because we beat them, which is a really good feeling.
And it makes me very thankful that we did so. And since we are currently the number 1 seed in the NFC, all we got to do is win the rest of our games, and we will have that first round bye in the championship game, hopefully at Lambeau Field. And I know something that changes even more than the NFC playoff picture is the weather forecast, but I did kind of peek at the weather forecast on the day that there would be the NFC championship game. And if it were to happen and the weather forecast does not change, it would be a high of 30 degrees with ice storms in the forecast.
In January, right? Like the NFC Championship game in January already has a forecast. You crack me up, Wayne.
It's called research.
You're looking up the weather report for a game that's 2 months away that we don't even know if we're going to be playing in it. I love you so much.
You've got to be prepared for everything. And speaking of being prepared, do any of the other teams and where they're currently at on the NFC top list, anything stand out to you? Good or bad?
I'm just looking through here. I'm not surprised by Tampa Bay. I'm surprised Philadelphia is on there with a record of 3-5. That's kind of nuts to me that they're the number 4 seed with the under 400. It just doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. That whole division
just needs to be kicked out or not be able to host a home game unless they turn things around. I'm most surprised, and maybe I shouldn't be, but the Arizona Cardinals are currently the number 3 seed. There's a 3-way tie in the NFC West. What a shame that the 49ers are in last place and not involved in that tie. But the Cardinals currently own the edge on that one, and they're the number 3 seed. That is wild.
That is wild. Where'd that come from? But man, Kyler Murray, watch out for that guy. Holy cow.
Yep. So, listener Steven was hoping that at this point in the show we could give out our Packers midterm grades. With you being a school teacher and you've probably given out all kinds of grades, I'll have you go first, sir.
Well, you know that we don't give letter grades in school anymore, at least in the elementary level. We don't, no A's, B's, C's, or D's, so now we have 1s, 2s, 3s, and 4s. So
which one's better?
Is it 4 is the highest. 4 is the best. 1 is not so good. If I had to give a grade, though, I'm going to go with a B-. They are first in the division, so it's hard to argue that they're not doing well. But I'm really looking at last week and the loss against the Vikings in particular because I just feel like the overconfidence is really getting the best of us, but they're still doing well. Still very much a passing grade, but nowhere near an A in my book, especially because of the missed tackles and just slow speeds this last week. So let's get rid of that.
Okay. And I bet you're probably surprised that I am not giving the Packers an A+++++.
A little bit.
I am giving them a B+. Because somehow they are finding ways to win, even in these heart attack games. They are winning. but not with quite the power and style that we want to see going down the stretch. So
Absolutely.
Let's dig into listener feedback. Remember, we want to hear from you after every Packers game, just before midnight on the game day, which for most of the rest of the season should be on Sundays. So before midnight on Sunday night, call us at 920-3PACK-GO, or anywhere in the world. You can just record your audio on your cell phone, your laptop, whatever you got, and attach it to an email, and just email it to us, feedback@PackersFanPodcast.com.
Hey guys, this is Mark from New Lisbon. Just calling about the Packer win over Jacksonville. It just ended, and I feel like, it wasn't a pretty win, but we're 7-2, and as of this minute, we have the best record in the NFC. So I'm sure some of the 6-2 teams will come out on top. I think Tampa Bay won, but you got to win those games where it's just a grind, and they were kind of shorthanded on defense with Savage and Jair Alexander out. So, speaking of defense, it gets frustrating watching the Packers missing tackles. I don't know if they lead. I don't know if they keep that stat, but I feel like they're right up in the top 3 for missed tackles. And they're not quite as physical as I'd like to see them. It seems like teams like Jacksonville and the Vikings kind of out physical us. But the bottom line is, at the end of the game, when Jacksonville was driving, the defense made a couple of big sacks right on the last drive. I feel like Rashawn Gary may have had his best game as a Packer, and they really need him to step up. And on offense, it seems like MVS is starting to show what he's got. And he had a big game, almost 150 yards receiving. So it's all positive when you win. It's a good Sunday. It makes Monday even better. I feel like the Packers' schedule the rest of the way isn't as difficult as it could be. So there's a lot of wins there, and they have a pretty good chance to go, 13-3 again if they go 6-1 the rest of the way. So I feel like Rodgers is stepping up again when he has to. They were behind, and he put that great drive together. So anytime you have Aaron on your team, a potential MVP candidate, you're going to be in every game. So thanks for taking my call. And I feel like you guys do a great job with your podcasts. So enjoy the win just like I will, and we'll talk to you next week. Bye.
Thanks so much, Mark, and appreciate the kind words that you added there at the very end. We really appreciate you listening and doing so every week. Yeah, the defense definitely seems to be our biggest struggle right now, which is frustrating coming off of last season when we were so strong out the gate. The missed tackles are almost unacceptable. It just kind of blows my mind that we're watching professional football when those tackles are being missed that frequently. And I agree. You basically echo what I mentioned earlier. We just don't seem very physical on really either side of the ball, as aggressive as we'd like to see, but specifically on defense for sure. But really good to see Rashawn Gary with that awesome game. Hopefully we'll see more from him. And I just like hearing MVS's name. I can never remember how to pronounce it. Marquez Valdez-Scantling. It's a mouthful. MVS rolls off the tongue much easier.
We'll go with Marquez Valdez-Scantling. Yes, we'll go with that. And again, Mark, thanks for the kind words. Thanks for listening. Thanks for calling in. And I think the most physical players on the team right now might be our running backs, and they kind of have to be.
Right.
On that one play, the punt that was returned for a touchdown. Now, of course, J.K. Scott, he was the last man. He tried to make a tackle, and I don't expect him to be able to make that tackle. So I'm not.
No.
It's the rest of the people on the field that should have made that tackle.
I don't know. It was kind of humorous watching. It's always humorous when the punter is the last one that has a chance to try to stop a touchdown. But it almost felt like the returner was just toying with him.
Yeah.
with that juke he did at the end. I don't know.
But you never know. There have been plays in the past on all sorts of teams where the punter just cold cocks somebody and just takes them out.
Totally.
So J.K. Scott, work on that, because I'd love to see you do that. If by some chance the ball gets run back by the Bears and gets anywhere close to you, take them down.
Yeah, do that name Scott justice.
Go, Pack, go! Go, Pack, go!
Hey guys, Andre in LA. Thanks. I'm sorry. First and foremost, I want to thank Wayne for the kind words. My teenage daughter lost her 6-year-old bunny on Saturday morning. It was a rough go. It's always a rough go for a kid to lose their first pet, but she pulled through. Anyway, back to the game. What a great win. Wow, very impressive. Jacksonville has a very physical defense. Their record does not let you know how physical the defense. It seems like whenever they got a hand on you, they pulled down. What a catch by Devontae Adams in the fourth quarter. Great block by the referee on that MVS touchdown in the second quarter. It was a very impressive win, even though the run defense again got pushed around. But this really felt like a great game. I don't know what you guys think about MVS. I'm glad he is out of the doghouse. He reminds me a lot of Randall Cobb, Antonio Freeman, that sort of receiver who may not always put up great numbers, but every time you look up, it's like, wow, he got another touchdown today. So just love to hear your thoughts on that. I won't keep you guys too long. Great team win. Special teams struggled a little bit, but we pulled it through. Rodgers was Rodgers. The O-line protected him for the most part, so I'm just thankful for the victory. Green and gold till I'm dead and cold. Go, Pack, go! R.I.P. Sky, love you.
Andre, thank you so much for the call again this week. It's always great to hear from you. And yeah, it was very sad to see your post on Instagram about Sky's passing. You know, the grief that hits people, especially children, when their pets pass away is real. And hopefully she's going to be feeling better pretty soon. You brought up an excellent point, Andre, kind of what Scott talked about earlier. Jacksonville's defense was definitely more physical than ours, but especially physical for a team that's 1-7. You watch them play like that and you think that's more of a 4-4 team at least.
Right. They were the second worst defense in the league going into this game, and I never would have guessed that. Obviously, I don't get to watch every single game every week. I don't pay a ton of attention to the Jaguars, but so I haven't seen any of that in action. I was shocked at how well that defense was looking against us and made me a little nervous.
I think they were definitely playing up to the competition because
right.
They didn't want to be embarrassed on television anymore, and to go against the Packers gave them every opportunity to show us what they were made of, and they almost beat us. Thank goodness they didn't. And Andre, yeah, our run defense, as always, kind of getting pushed around. That's got to be fixed. And I know LaFleur is on it. It's just a matter of, can we make that happen? And interesting, I've never heard that before, that MVS kind of reminds you of Cobb and maybe even Antonio Freeman. What do you think about that, Scott?
I can see the Cobb. Antonio Freeman is pretty high praise. Pretty high praise. He has done some great things these last couple of games, but I'm still just waiting for a little bit more explosiveness to compare him to Antonio Freeman.
Well, who knows? Maybe this week in Indianapolis. So let's play a quick round of Can You Imagine with Hank Davis.
Hi, guys. This is Hank from TPEnetwork.com's The Mandalorian Fan Podcast. Recently, I read an article that featured former Detroit Lions wide receiver, future Hall of Famer in my opinion, Calvin Johnson, a.k.a. Megatron. And in that article, he said that Green Bay's very own future Hall of Famer as well, Aaron Rodgers, would approach him after every game they played against each other and tell him he needed to trade in his Honolulu blue and silver for green and gold. I found that to be outstanding from the perspective of what if Calvin Johnson would have played with Aaron Rodgers? Where would his statistics be? And would he have won a Super Bowl with them or multiple Super Bowls? That duo could have potentially been the best duo in NFL history. Come on, think about it. But what do you guys think? Thanks for the podcast.
Wow. Megatron and Aaron Rodgers together would be an unstoppable force. I'm pretty confident. That would have been very high hopes, because I don't think that would have happened. I don't think anybody would have let that happen, but goodness gracious, that would have been amazing. Also, shout out to Hank, a huge fan of The Mandalorian. I actually got caught up last night, and man, that show, so good. If you're not watching The Mandalorian, it makes me want to go back and rewatch the animated series, though, because I'm missing out on a lot of backstory that I don't understand that's happening now. Anyway.
Me too. But this week's episode of The Mandalorian, episode 3 of season 2, oh my gosh, it was fantastic.
Yeah, there was a surprise face that I was not expecting to see at all in The Mandalorian, and I was,
man. You gotta watch it, people.
Yeah, it's good. Anyway, we're here to talk about Packers. Sorry.
Oh, well, that's okay. But it was great to hear Hank sounding fantastic. His sound quality is amazing on the call, and it does give you something to think about. And the fact that Calvin Johnson had said that AR-12 would kind of come up to him after almost every game, and if you could find a way to make it happen, obviously the Lions wouldn't have let it happen, but they could do kind of what happened with Brett Favre. Calvin Johnson could go to like the Jets for a year, and then be able to go wherever he wants, and boom, he's a Green Bay Packer. And I do think they would be pretty much unstoppable. I mean, we wouldn't even need to field a defense.
I've been burned by Calvin Johnson in too many games in the past to I don't know. He's got us on a couple of times completing the pass or completing the catch. Remember those plays?
Yes.
Oh my goodness. Oh, so I'm still a little bitter, but it still would have been amazing.
Okay, this is my second voicemail. This is Megan. I didn't even introduce myself. I think you know my voice at this point. And, this is my second call, and I was trying to start that one off a little forced with a little more energy. And, I mean, I'm happy, definitely, like, for sure. I don't know what else to even say. I think I got most everything out there on the last voicemail before I got cut off, but then Pete didn't have a chance to talk, so I'll hand the phone over, and obviously we're still in it 100%. It was an interesting game. Like, I was wondering, like, Scott, last week you were talking about the overconfidence is the thing that kind of scares you the most, and I was like, oh, we can't be overconfident going into this game, as I was, like, projecting the score that, like, we were going to get 48 points, but whatever. I mean, I didn't see it as an overconfidence. They weren't really in a groove first quarter offensively. And defense did seem to, like, not allow much at all in the first quarter for sure. I don't know. Heart attack pack, that's what it was. And, like, thank God I didn't actually have a heart attack, because I felt like I was going to. And sad to see us past the halfway point. I don't like to be on the back end of the season, but there's still more to enjoy. Happy belated birthday, Matt LaFleur. Way to have a win the day after your birthday. Go Pack, go, baby, let's go!
7-2, baby! This felt like, this is a Pete, by the way, just to echo it in briefly, this felt like a classic 2019 Packers win, where I forget who coined the term, but it definitely was win ugly. And it's better to win ugly than to lose ugly. So I'll take that for what it's worth. 7-2. On to the game of the week. Indy Colts. Bring them on, baby.
At Indy, we got this. We got it. Go Pack, go! Baker Mayfield mind blown, like, what just happened? I don't know. I'm happy. Go Pack, go. Love the guys. Love Rodgers. Everyone. It is a team effort. I wish it was a team effort for 60 minutes of football, but it is what it is. And we still come out with a W, and we're the best team in the league. I'm lucky to be a Packers fan for life. Green and gold for dead and cold. Loyal to the soil. Woo! Woo!
Woo! Megan and Pete calling in. Yeah, the first call was definitely cut off by the Google Voice folks. The second call, more energy. So we'll go with that. And Scott, you kind of getting a reference there in the call about your keys to victory whenever you mention being overconfident.
Yeah, I'm telling you, overconfidence is key, and I love hearing Megan say my name. That's pretty awesome. I love their calls, by the way. I just seriously, I'm ask Wayne. I'm sitting here grinning the entire time you're playing that thing. Yeah, she says she's thankful she didn't have a heart attack. I came pretty close because if we were going to lose against Jacksonville, I was gonna be really, really upset. But what are you gonna do? And I didn't know it was LaFleur's birthday either. Did you?
No, I didn't. But happy belated birthday to Coach LaFleur. And win ugly. Yeah, that is very much like how things went down in 2019, Pete.
Pretty much.
A win is a win. So, going to touch on the elephant in the room with our weekly poll that we put in the Facebook group at PackersCommunity.com and on Twitter at Packers Fan Pod. Do you think the Packers' effectiveness at Lambeau Field is severely hampered by not having any fans in the stands? Or is not having fans in the stands a minor thing? So basically as A or B, severely hampered or it's a minor thing.
I'm going to go with the minor thing. I'm not going to sit here and say that it's not a factor because it's going to be a factor everywhere we go. But we've lost games at Lambeau with no fans there. We've won games at Lambeau with no fans there. I think it just comes down to which team is going to show up more than anything. But it's a factor, but not as big of a factor as I think we're making it.
And I don't think it's the only reason by any means that we lost, but I do think it's a pretty big factor that would severely hamper us, especially against a 1-7 Jaguars team this week with an inexperienced quarterback. If Lambeau would have been loaded with fans making a lot of noise, I don't think that their offense could have done even half of what they did to us.
You know, I really wish I could sit in this stadium. I know that you're not supposed to have fans. First off, it would be an incredible experience to be
the only
one of the only fans in a stadium during a football game like that, just to see what that's like. I mean, I've been to so many games with the crowd noise and the speakers and the board and everything. It would be a bizarre experience to just sit there in that sullen silence and just hearing the pads hitting each other. I just want to do that, but also just kind of see how that affects me and how it might affect the players would be a very interesting little science experiment.
Yeah,
I say we do it.
Very definitely. Let's make that happen. But at the same time, I would rather have the fans there. And I know some people are saying, well, all the teams are dealing with this, but no, not really. A lot of them are, but the Dallas Cowboys, when they play a home game, that stadium looks to be 20 to 30% full. And very, very loud, even with that number of people. And, you know, a few other teams have had 6,000, 10,000 people. It's just unfortunate because of the supposed hot spot in Wisconsin that Packers aren't sure when we'll ever have fans at Lambeau. But Aaron Rodgers, in his post-game presser, I think he alluded to the fact that, hey, if there's a way that we could have fans for the playoffs, that would be very nice indeed.
For sure. We had some comments on the poll as well. Janelle said, honestly, I can't believe this, but I feel like it's the cold, which is not a good thing at all for playing in Green Bay. Also, Dictus in Netherlands replied, A, any given Sunday. B, this year is weird. C, a W is a W is a W. D, 7-2. E, hashtag Go Pack Go. F, all of the above.
Fantastic. And Terry commented, she says, it could be the cold in part, and the defense for the run is not up to par in my opinion. And maybe it does make some differences with no fans, but we are 7-2 in a very strange year. I think we're still going to see some awesome play. I'm happy with our season so far. Go Pack Go. And Kim in Texas says, yeah, I think so. I think the cheering and screaming can have an effect on the opposing team, and it does.
Oh, for sure. I'm not saying it's not a factor.
Right.
I just think that it's not as big a factor as the team giving 110% as opposed to 40% that I felt like we got this week. Well,
and that's why I made it just a 2-answer question. I didn't have a third choice of not a factor at all because it's definitely a factor, minor or severe.
Yeah. Let's move on to emails. First one, Wayne and Scott. It's one of your favorite emailers checking in from Palos Park, Illinois. The Heart Attack Pack are back, and they barely beat the Jacksonville Jaguars by a score of 24-20. I believe that despite the win, that it is time for Mike Pettin to be fired as the Packers defensive coordinator, as he is the coach of the defense and they need to play a lot better than what they did. I don't expect them to completely shut out a team, but at least limit the scoring. But a win is a win no matter how you look at it. By the way, this is Stephen Verheeren from Palace Park. He's channeling his inner Megan, I think. And it does make one feel better that after this week, the Chicago Bears are finally going on their bye week so that you can truly feel that the Packers will have a lead in the division, as the Bears after this week will not have played one more game than the Packers. Here are my own keys to victory. The defense needs to play better than they have been playing. I mean, they don't need to shut out a team, but really lessen the scoring. Hey, Scott, check to see if Wayne has been laughing while you have been reading my email. He has been chuckling a little bit, and I feel like I'm missing some kind of inside joke here, but no? Yeah, he's laughing for sure. It was great to hear from the real Andre from LA on the podcast, as he was back with the good old Go Pack Goes, the loud Go Pack Goes. Okay, I'm going to be checking out for now, but I look forward to the next episode of the Packers Fan Podcast. Go Pack Go.
And if you're listening now, you are hearing the next episode of the Packers Fan Podcast. Thank you very much, Stephen. Also, hey, Wayne and Scott, Caleb, Kathy, and Roy Fisher from Green Bay, Wisconsin. You know, they're kind of the original CCR, in my opinion. Not Creedence Clearwater Revival. Caleb, Kathy, and Roy Fisher.
All looking out their back door.
Exactly. Well played.
Okay, go ahead.
Although we are very happy we won, we should have won by more points. It seemed like the weather was even a factor. And one of the great things from the game was that old man Aaron Rodgers still has the legs to run for a touchdown. Also enjoyed MVS is starting to get touchdowns. Amen to that, Caleb. Mm-hmm. We need to get our defense in gear. It's getting nearer to the end of the season, and we want that Vince Lombardi trophy back in Titletown.
Yes.
We also want to send out our regards to the golden boy, Paul Horning's family.
84 years old.
And well played, Paul Horning. No matter what, go Pack go. And to celebrate our win, we had Culver's Butterburgers and cheese curds. Caleb, Kathy, and Roy Fisher. I'm jealous. Mouth-watering jealous.
Squeaky clean cheese curds, as you alluded to earlier.
Don't they make them from the squeaky cheese?
They do.
Okay.
That's how you know the cheese is good, if it squeaks when you bite into it. Also from the Packers Fan Podcast Facebook community group, Peter posted more info about that David Bakhtiari deal. He signed a 4-year contract extension. The deal is worth $103.5 to $105.6 million, but that includes his current 2020 $11.6 million money, so $10.5 million base, plus $500,000 roster bonus, and $500,000 workout bonus. Whoa. This means that the new money in the deal is $92 million to $94 million. $30 million of his new money is a signing bonus, which he receives immediately. But for cap purposes, this bonus will be spread out over 5 seasons between the 2020 and 2024 seasons, i.e. $6 million a year. That leaves the remaining $62 to $64 million of new money to be spread across seasons 2021 to 2024 and counted against the cap, likely the lowest in 2021 and gradually increasing to 2024. We'll await more details so that we can see the exact year on the year cap hit. But cap hit totals of something like 2021, $15 million, 2022, $22 million, 2023, $23 million, and 2024, $26 million. Wouldn't surprise me. We shall see. Interesting facts there, man. Thank you.
Oh, man, those are some heavy-duty numbers, Peter. Thank you for sharing those. And it's a good thing that he got the signing bonus now because of all the new gaming systems coming out. He's going to need that money. Christmas is coming.
They're not that expensive, but yes, they're definitely.
Well, he's probably got a lot of friends and family to buy for. Also in the group, Miguel from the Opposites Attract podcast shared a great video all about Davante Adams entitled Davante Adams Dominates by Never Running a Route the Same Way Twice. And let me tell you, Miguel, that video had some beautiful, beautiful things in it. So good.
Very much appreciated. Also, Peter posted an excellent article from Packers.com devoted to the passing of a Packers legend, Paul Horning, who we just talked about, died at 84. Vince Lombardi once said that Paul Horning was the best player he ever coached, which is saying something when you think of all the Hall of Famers that Vince coached. So thank you to everybody out there for your calls, emails, comments, and support. We do appreciate it. If you too like to join the Packers Fan Facebook community, be part of that conversation, head over to packerscommunity.com, especially on game day for our live game discussions thread. We give our little comments here and there and have some fun going back and forth. You do not want to miss it.
And speaking of game days, your 7-2 Green Bay Packers are on the road to Indianapolis to play the 6-3 Colts. And all time, Scott, are you sitting down? I just got to make sure you're sitting down.
I'm sitting down. You can see me sitting down.
I just wanted, it's a podcast. People are listening. The Colts actually lead the series.
Oh, my goodness.
23-21 and one tie. So Sunday,
1.5 years I've been doing this show, man, and I've never seen the Packers not leading that stat.
Well, have we played the Colts in that span? No. So this is an unfortunate thing, but we can close the gap this weekend. The matchup with the Colts has been flexed to 3:25 p.m. Central on Fox from its original noon start time. So it's now the afternoon game, which gives me more confidence that more Packers fans are going to be able to see this victory than what we're able to see the Jaguars game. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the first time the Packers have played at Lucas Oil Stadium since 2012, which seems like 37 years ago. And as of today, Phillip Rivers, believe it or not, has the Colts in first place in the AFC South.
Crazy. This is shaping up to be the game of the week. I mean, that's why they moved it to this spot for sure. The line is like at 1.5 right now, and I've seen it go back and forth to Packers and Colts. It's gone back to the Colts after our performance this past week, but it really is shaping up to be a potentially awesome game to watch, which is not good news for us because that means it's going to be heart attack inducing.
And because of how math works, there's a chance this could be a Super Bowl preview.
It could. Very well could be.
Since it is scheduled to be around 55 degrees with a 25% chance of rain, I'm going to guess the roof at Lucas Oil Stadium will be closed for this game.
Probably. Have you ever been to Indy, by the way, Wayne?
No, but it looks like just a great American city to go to.
Man, I went to visit for work or something. I had some training there, and my hotel was within view of Lucas Oil Stadium. And that downtown area, which they completely redid right before the Super Bowl was in Indianapolis, and that downtown is gorgeous. Let me tell you, that was really, really pretty. I like that a lot. So I would totally go see a game at Lucas Oil if I could. Well, next up, let's go ahead and move to the keys to a Packers victory over the Colts. Start off, we need to be prepared for a tough defense. We barely squeaked by the low-rated Jags defense last week, and I've got news for you. The Colts ain't the Jaguars. Their defense has held 5 teams to under 175 yards this season so far. Coming from a team like us that relies heavily on its passing game, we've got our work cut out for us for sure. We can't rely on big plays against this team and need to get back to basics, fundamental football. How many games, Wayne, have I texted you in that opening quarter and said those 2 words, fundamental football?
It has been a few games, and I assume that fundamental also includes tackling.
Yeah, that's part of fundamental. It's a very necessary thing to do in a football game is to tackle, for sure. Secondly, repeat the rebound. Both times we lost this season, we bounced back and looked like a different team coming back. As happy as I was to get the win this week, the team is in dire need of a wake-up call, in my opinion. The Pack should use this as an opportunity to take the midseason game a bit more seriously than last week. No come-from-behind garbage. We simply don't have the heart for another one. Lastly, contain Phillip Rivers. The Colts quarterback has a record of 1-3 as a starter against the Packers, but that doesn't mean much this week if our defense can't step up, especially when he averages 372 yards per game in those 4 contests. He is a force to be reckoned with and not to be taken lightly. Cover those receivers, plant him on the turf, otherwise it's going to be a very long game. And there you have it.
Well put, Scott Clark. And I'm not positive, but I do believe for his record against the Packers, 1-3, the 1 was his most recent game against the Packers when the Packers went to L.A. to play the Chargers, and as has been tradition, losing on the West Coast until recently. So, yeah, he was with the Chargers then. It's going to be a tough game. Get your popcorn ready.
It's going to be a good game for sure.
Now, how do we do with guessing of the games? Because I picked Packers 31, Jaguars 17. You had Packers 34, Jaguars 21. and the Packers, it was 24-20. I can't believe it was that close.
I can't either, and I can't believe it was so close in differential because you edged me out yet again by 1 point. My differential was 11. Your differential was 10, which means you get the lower score, which means you have extended the lead to 5-2.
Wow.
Which breaks my heart. Breaks my heart.
I'm sorry to break your heart, Scott. I should start doing scenarios to find out when can I clinch.
Yeah, right? That's not good. Hey, I'm not giving up. And in fact, I'm looking to gain some ground on you this week. You know what we should do? We should be doing double shocks. We should do like where you get 1 week where you can, if you win it counts as 2 or something.
No.
You get like one of those once a week or once a season rather.
But what we could do is, if by some chance we are tied in our wager fun at the end of the regular season, we can come up with some big tiebreaker for the playoffs.
Well, to do something like that. Anyway, you're not going to like my answer, Wayne, but I'm picking the Colts. Colts 27, Packers 23.
Wait. Let me make sure this thing's on here. Okay, we're recording. You said what?
I said that my prediction is the Colts will win this one, 27-23. And the score doesn't matter because you're obviously going to pick the Packers. So one of us is going to win.
I'm not obviously going to pick the Packers.
Yes, you're obviously going to pick the Packers.
I'm likely to pick the Packers. Ladies and gentlemen, feedback at PackersFanPodcast.com. Scott is picking the Colts to win this game.
Hey, I've got to gain some ground somehow, and I got to make some ballsy picks here.
So is this picking with your heart or your head, or
you think I'm going to pick with my heart and pick the Packers to lose? Come on.
Yeah, it's just
I'm
stunned at the moment. I'm stunned.
The Colts are looking solid, man. And Phillip Rivers, I feel like Phillip Rivers is an all-star quarterback that we rarely ever talk about. I understand he's in the AFC, so he gets less attention for Packers fans. But those numbers don't lie, man. 372 yards a game against us, and he's got that Tom Brady-ism in him, where he refuses to give up and refuses to lose and will fight until those final seconds no matter what. I think that if the Packers continue to play defense like we did last week and against the Vikings and that abysmal game against the Buccaneers, we have a real chance of losing this game. And I think this one might hurt, but that's my prediction, man.
So are you saying that we definitely need to take every precaution to be watching the kickoff of this game?
Yeah, I would say so, for sure.
Because we know that, that's general operating procedure. And Phillip Rivers, he's kind of under the radar because he was with the Chargers for so long and they haven't won a Super Bowl at all. But the guy's a beast. He's helping raise 9 kids. Can you imagine? That's a whole classroom of kids, just about.
That is not a whole classroom of kids. I have 31 kids in my classroom.
I meant in 2020, that's considered a classroom of kids for some teachers.
Sure.
Long story short, I am picking the Packers to win this game. But it is going to be a close one. Packers 24, which is close to your pick of the Packers 23, but the Colts are only going to have 21 when time runs out. So, Packers win again. So we'll have to wait and see. I hope I am too. I'll be clinching this wager fun in no time. The NFC North is kind of in flux at this very moment. The Packers are 7-2. The Bears are 5-4, but just kicked off 5 minutes ago against the Vikings. The Lions are 4-5, and the Vikings are 3-5. So in order to help out the Packers the best, I guess we kind of have to root for the Vikings.
Yeah, as much as it pains me to say, let's skull.
No, I'm not going to ever say that word. I am personally rooting for a 0-0 tie because that would be very fitting, even though mathematically a Vikings victory would help us out even more. But yes, we need to build more of a lead against the Bears just in case, because I still can't believe here it is, the second half of November. We haven't even played the Bears once yet.
It is weird. It feels like we play the Bears always the first or second game of the season.
We do.
But to go this late in the season is weird. But it's going to make for a great second half of the season to get those two games under our belt as we finish out the season for sure. Had some interesting things happen in the NFL outside of the Packers. First off, Drew Brees, man, he took a nasty hit. I don't know if you saw the play, Wayne, But he's got some broken ribs and a lung issue. That begs the question. He's 41 years old. Do you think this might be it for him?
It could be, though I do think he'll come back and finish out the season, but then he may decide to retire. What's interesting...
broken ribs?
Well, hey, all I know is when the hit was pretty brutal, and he was, in pain and did come out of the game, but it didn't look like it was that severe. And I think it's something to do with all the adrenaline of being on the field and being a professional quarterback that he didn't know that he had, 5 bruised ribs and a partially punctured lung. I mean, I'd be laying on the floor.
Yeah, he just kind of walked it off, rubbed some dirt on it, and he's good.
Wow. But yeah, Drew Brees, what a run he's had so far. And how about that wild finish in the Bills-Cardinals game? The Bills take the lead with about a minute to go, and I thought, well, I should seal it. But, they left the Cardinals more than, 45 seconds? And they answered with their own very Aaron Rodgers-like Hail Mary to win it with just 5 seconds to go.
I swear I've seen that play a dozen times in replays since it happened. And triple coverage, how did he get that ball? How did he come up with it? It's just beyond me. But
how did the Bills defenders not just knock the ball down?
Mm-hmm. It was a very crazy play, but man, Kyler Murray and that toss too. Plus, wasn't he across his body, or he was running towards the sideline and had to twist to set and get that ball out before running out of bounds? Amazing, kind of crazy. Also, it was good to see the Seahawks lose. Would have been nice to see if San Francisco could have stepped up against the Saints, but I'd be lying if I said I was expecting it. So, what are you going to do?
We'll try again next time. And in the AFC, for me personally, it's kind of a pleasant surprise to see Baker Mayfield and the Browns, as well as Tua and the Dolphins, both doing well this season. Those are teams you normally don't hear about being in the mix, but the Browns and Dolphins are for real. Someone just needs to beat the Steelers. They're still undefeated as of the time of this recording. Somebody's got to slow them down a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Stairway to no.
Stairway to no.
Oh, their whole thing is Stairway to 7. It's a Stairway to Heaven, Stairway to 7. They want their 7th Super Bowl.
Oh, no. Well,
come on, old man.
I know Led Zeppelin just like you kids do. Gee whiz. My goodness. Come
on. I know you're a big Cardi B fan.
That I would rather watch my wall just sit there.
Come on, you're a WAP fan for sure. You sing that song in your car all the time, don't you?
This is incorrect. I've been listening to AC/DC and Thunder Mother lately. But
that's what we should make. That's what we should make Wayne sing. If he loses this wager, then he's going to sing WAP on the podcast. I'm saying it right now. Now I really want to win. That's what you're going to sing.
Oh, is this going to be your motivation?
Oh my goodness! Nope. If that means Wayne's going to sing WAP on the podcast, nope. Oh man, that's going to be amazing. No, I can't wait.
No. I don't think the Steelers are going to finish undefeated. They do have a couple of tough games coming up against the Ravens and I forget the other team, but they're bound to lose at least 2 games. Otherwise, we're really going to have to watch out. Mm-hmm. But with that in mind, I just want to take a moment to see if you have your own business out there, listener, and you're working on any online training videos, planning any commercials for the upcoming holiday season, and you want to add a professional voiceover to your productions, I know a guy. His name's Wayne Henderson at MediaVoiceovers.com. And also, 2021 is coming around the corner. That would be the perfect time for you to launch your very own podcast. You could podcast about your local area, your favorite TV series. The options are endless, and I could record a professional voiceover intro and outro for your new show. Check out my demos and how to contact me at MediaVoiceovers.com. That's all I got.
Well, thank you, Wayne. I may have to take you up on that. I got a podcast I could use in it. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, seriously, hit up Wayne. If you want to hear some awesome things from him as well, he does the trailers for the Remake This Movie Right podcast that Aaron Peterson puts together, and it's great. Just go listen to that show. He does the trailers at the end of it, which is awesome. And speaking of other podcasts that I'm involved in, if you love video games as much as I do, my show is called The Gaming Outsider, and we talk about video games every single week for 2 solid hours. This week, we have our impressions of the newest video game hardware, the Xbox Series X and the PlayStation 5. Yes, I have them both sitting right here, about 5 feet away from me.
Wait, you have them both, and you didn't even sign a new signing bonus with the Packers? You are on a roll.
I married up. I married way out of my league.
And you're going to be talking about them on the show this time.
Yes, we are. And also some new games we played on them,
Nice.
including Assassin's Creed Valhalla and Spider-Man Miles Morales, and a ton of other games. It's a lot of new games released this week. So if you'd like to check it out, our website is thegamingoutsider.com. And also, if you're looking for some early Christmas and holiday gift shopping ideas, I know it's early. Not supposed to start playing Christmas music until after Thanksgiving, unless you're Wayne. But we've also got plenty of swag for you to pick up over on our website, including handmade masks that I've got. Some of them actually say Packers Fan Podcast on them. They're made by me, and we'd love the support. Please check it out at thegamingoutsider.com/the Go Shop. And also, we've got some really good video game ones over there as well.
Definitely check those out. And yes, it's true. I put the Christmas lights up on my house yesterday during the afternoon game. And in fact, it just got dark and they came on. So life is good. Yes, another thing that's true is we are part of the value for value model here at the Packers Fan Podcast. And our Patreon page offers several tiers where you can donate, and each tier offers its own special rewards for you. Your pledges are invested in making the podcast even better for you going forward, as well as some other Patreon perks. You can get things like Packers Fan Podcast stickers, window clings, buttons, shout-outs on the show, and even our new 2-sided t-shirt at the higher levels. Check out the details at patreon.com/Packers Fan Podcast. And we have to say an amazing thank you to Bryant for all of your Patreon support at the Willie Wood $24 level. Go Pack, go to you. Also grateful for the $12 monthly pledges from the Texas-only Green Bay Packers fanatics. Go Pack, go to you and yours.
Also, thank you to our $4 Patreon supporters. Go Pack Go is going out to Jeff Summerfield, Lawrence Harvey, and Andre in L.A. We also have Go Pack Go shout-outs to those at the awesome $1 monthly supporters, Hank Davis from the TPE Network of Podcasts, Remy LaVictoire, Matt Haig, Joe Christensen, and Beth Mentink. Now, whether or not you can financially pledge, Wayne and I are so grateful that you listen to the show each week. So please tell your friends about the podcast, interact with us on social media, and also call in with those great voicemails. Thank you so much for all of the support. As a reminder, we are the Unofficial Packers Fan Podcast, not yet affiliated with the NFL or the Green Bay Packers, but we would love to be. So please reach out to us. Remember to have our voicemail feedback hotline number of 920-3PACK-GO programmed into your phone and ready to share your excitement from Sunday's game.
And we invite you to follow us on Twitter as well. The one for the show is at Packers Fan Pod. The one for Scott is at GoCastScott. The one for me is at Wayne Henderson. And now, give it up for the Texas-only Green Bay Packers fanatics to help root the Pack on to victory in Indy.
This is Dawn down here in Texas, a.k.a. Granny Cheese.
Hi, I'm James.
Hi, I'm Kim.
Hi, I'm Melissa.
Hi, I'm Susan.
Hi, I'm Carrie.
Hi, I'm Lisa Montgomery, and we want to say,
Go Pack, go!